Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to ohm out your plunger to figure out which wires are going to be your touch-off and which ones are going to be your e-stop. The things that you're going to need is you're going to need your plunger, a multimeter, and have that to ohms. I like to have the sound on so that way it'll help me decide which ones go with which. So to do this, I also have alligator clips that I put on the leads just to make it a little bit easier, especially if you're doing it by yourself. So first off is I'm going to take these wires. You might have to strip them back a little bit. We'll start with the red and black. So I'm going to put one lead on my black and I'm going to put another one on my red. It does not matter which one goes on which. Just a note that once I put this alligator clip on this wire, my multimeter is going to start ringing because the plunger is a normally closed plunger. So I'm going to put this on and it's going to start ringing. Now once I touch the plunger, depending on how far I go, it's going to turn the ringer on or off. So if I just press down a little bit lightly, it's going to shut the ringer off. So that's how I know that those two wires are going to be for my touch off. All right, so I'm going to check the green and yellow just to make sure. Usually the plungers that you'll get from us, the red and black, are usually pairs. The green and the yellow are usually pairs, but I would recommend checking them if you're going to do an install just to make sure. So I'm going to put these on and you're going to notice that it's going to start ringing once I put this alligator clip on. So if I'm pressing down lightly, it's not going to shut off. But if I press down a little farther, the ringer is going to shut off. That's how I know that those two wires are going to be for my e-stop. Okay? So like say if you were going to ohm out the green and the black, that ringer is not going to turn on because those guys are not pairs. If you do anything with the plunger, it's not going to do anything. So that is how you are going to find out which wires go to which. Okay, so we are going to show you how to wire up on a pro style table with the controller box mounted on the side. So what we're going to do is it's going to be our 4-wire cable that has the crimps on the end, and you're going to take it through the hole where all the other wires go, and you are going to make sure that it is long enough that it'll reach the FlashCut controller all the way by the inputs. Then you're going to take your wire and run it through the holes that are close to the table and around the front. And you are going to make sure that the 4-wire is long enough to reach across the table. And then you can cut off extra. Okay, so in this video, I am going to show you how to wire up the plunger for a FlashCut table. What you're going to have to do is make sure that the controller box is powered off, and then we are going to take our inputs out. Okay, we are going to need to daisy chain our e-stop and our Y e-stop together, so find where those are, which I have them right here, and we are going to extract those. Okay, might have to use this handy dandy tool, pin extractor. Just going to take it and place it in there on the outside of the pin. Okay. Pull those out. might take a little bit to, a little force to pull out. Okay, so now those are free. Right? Y E-stop and Y E-stop, you see there. Now what we're going to do to daisy chain is, what I like doing is I like taking a red from one and then a black from the other. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut those. Cut those short. And we are going to strip these back. Okay. Okay. Then we are going to butt connect those two together. So you're going to need a butt connector and then a crimping tool. Down, okay. And you're going to take the other side. Make that one. Put him in like so. But connect him. Okay. So, and we got that done. Then this crimp style, you heat shrink. Okay, so they are done. Now that's gonna go, these two are gonna go in slot. Slot 7. So we're gonna do, and it goes from 1 to 8. So just make sure you're not starting with 1 here. You're starting with 1 here. So we're gonna find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it's gonna go into the second to last slot. And then I'm just gonna put my black on the bottom, and my red on the top. Okay, so in those E-stops, E-stop is done. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to wire in our 4 cable wire for our plunger. When you get yours will have the crimps on the end. Okay, so like I said in the video before, our red and our black are going to be our touch off, and our green and yellow are going to be our E-stop. So we're going to use number 5 input, which will be right here. You can see that right in there, for our plunger E-stop. And so our E-stop is going to be the yellow and the green, which in this case it's going to be the orange and the blue. Remember, because blue is with green and yellow is with orange. Okay, so you can just place those in there. It does not matter which color goes on the top and which color goes on the bottom. Might take a little bit with all of these wires in there. Okay, and you'll hear a little click when they go in all the way. Okay, and then our touch off, which will be our red and our black, are going to go into spot 8. So sometimes I just like to keep the black on the bottom for this case, although it doesn't matter, and put right on top. So then there you have it. And that is how to wire it on the FlashCut Pro side. So you just attach it right in there and make sure there's enough length. Okay, so in this video we're gonna wire our 4-wire cable, the colored, to our plunger. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna have to strip those back. Strip those pretty good. Kind of want them that length. Okay, and then we are going to put the connector on. So we can loosen these up. Okay, loosen those up, and then I'm gonna start with my black. You place them in there, tighten those down. Then I'll place my red. I'll do my orange. As you can see here. And then I will place my blue. So when all said and done, it's gonna look like that. Okay? All right. So next, since you have that done, you could also put heat shrink on this if you want. Just place a bit of heat shrink on there if you want. I'm not going to do it in this video. So the next thing is you're going to put these in the other side of the plug. What I like to do is I like to place the plug in there. You're going to have your black from your 4-wire go to the black on the plunger, and then it's going to go red and red. You're going to do orange and yellow and blue and green. So I'm going to loosen these up. Okay, I'm going to place the black. Always look. It's kind of nice having this plugged in because then you can see black. Black needs to go on this side. Okay, so you're going to place that in there. Tighten that down. Place your red in there. Always make sure that just the bare wire is going in and not the shield. Because then that could make for a bad connection. So I'm going to place that in there, making sure the covering's not on. Okay. Do the same thing with the yellow. And the same thing with the green. These are pretty thin wires, so they do like to fray a little bit easier. So sometimes if you have them long enough, you can bend them a little bit just to make them a little more sturdier and put them in the slot. Okay. Then once you get that done, it is going to look like this. Right? Just a reminder, make sure that your black is on your black, your red is on your red, your yellow is on your orange, and your green is on your blue. And there you have it.
So we open up FlashCut, click Settings, add a new fab head, change the fab head to spindle. This is all good. Z, that's all good. Your output lines will either be 2 or 4, depending on what you have for a 2 or an 8-channel relay. But this is to turn on output line 2. This is to turn off output line 2. You then take this, create a delay of 5 seconds to allow the spindle to start. This is not controlled by FlashCut. The spindle speed is controlled by a dial on the top of the Milwaukee router. At start of cut, you type pound fab head dot turn on, and at end of cut, type in pound fab head dot turn off. Then we do not need to worry about that guy. Then we use an additional sensor. Input line number 8 typically is going to be the input line for the homing of the or the touch off pad, and the sensor offset will be about 2.6 inches, and that will then have to be measured to make sure that that is correct. It'd be probably anywhere from 2.55 to 2.65, giving you an error of about 100 thousandths in between the different sensors that we ship out. We then need to click Use Program Zero Sensing to add the button. We will then go to Inputs. Where is Inputs? Input lines. We then need to set the correct input lines for the touch off. Typically, we wire them in as number 8. We will change this from this. It will not become an emergency. It will become a control. And then this guy will become changed to touch off. You will need to daisy chain all of your e-stops. And this will now be plunger e-stop. And we'll change this to a feed hold emergency. And that will be normally closed. The touch off will also be normally closed. Therefore, we should be completely set up for this guy. We'll hit save. And essentially what will happen is it'll add this little height sensor here. You can either hide that guy if you're just running normal plasma, or view it if you're going to run router. You'll have a spindle button down here. When you turn this on, it would then turn the spindle on if properly installed and properly wired correctly. You would then, to use the height sense, you would come here and select Sense Spindle 0. It will then touch off the touch off sensor, and then you would essentially remove the touch off sensor, hit this button, go move to point, uncheck X, Y, Z. If you have A, uncheck it, and then move that down to 1 inch, and then essentially your Z should be 1 inch off of the height of the material. So if this is the height of your material right here, your Z will come down, stop, and you'll be able to measure the distance from here to here, and that should be exactly 1 inch. If it is not 1 inch, the numbers are inversely proportional. So essentially, when you come into fab heads, go to spindle, if I change this to 2.65, it will then lower my distance from my 1 inch, but you want that to be 100% correct. And that's all the simpler it is to install a fab head for the spindle.